Good evening, everyone. Allow me to talk about my research relating to human suffering as a secondary reality. When we talk about human suffering, we usually think of it as something that deeply or simply exists, a part of life we can't avoid. But if we look closely, suffering isn't something that exists in the same way as physical object or even such occurrences. It's not part of the primary reality, the world as it is, but of what we might call secondary reality, the world as we experience and interpret it. Pain, as I usually discuss on my research, belongs to the reality, very immediate and very undeniable. But suffering begins when we start to reflect on that pain, when we ask questions like, why me? Or what does this mean? That's when the experience enters consciousness and becomes part of our inner world, or what we call the secondary reality. So to concretize that one, allow me to reiterate what Albert Camus said, as I have written on my research often times. So he said that captures what he wrote beautifully. There is no love of life without despair of life. What he meant is that our awareness of pain and suffering deepens our understanding of what it means to live it. It is just because we suffer that we begin to search for meaning. And in that search, we find a kind of strength, even such beauty on it. So the main point of my research is that suffering is not just something that happens to us. It is something that happens within us. It's a reflection of how we engage with the realities of life, the struggles and the questions that come with being human. And in recognizing that suffering belongs to the secondary reality, we realize that it is also where transformation happens, where pain becomes meaning, and where human resilience takes root. That's all.
Okay, to move on from your paper, so let me introduce to you. My paper is entitled "The Moral of Genetic Enhancement." So first, before I would state my claim, I would like to distinguish between two things. First, genetic enhancement. It refers to the use of genetic technologies such as genetic editing to improve or to augment human traits beyond the normal range of health or human functioning. Its goal is not to treat or to cure a disease, but to enhance characteristics such as intelligence, strength, height, or appearance. In other words, it seeks to make humans better than normal. By contrast, genetic therapy aims to restore normal health by correcting defective genes that cause illness or disability. Its focus is curative or prevent, not augmentative. For example, using the CRISPR or the CRISPR to fix a gene causing cystic fibrosis would be therapy, while using it to enhance memory capacity or muscle strength in a healthy person would be regarded as enhancement. So, to make it short, genetic therapy is healing, which restores human function, and then genetic enhancement is improving, surpassing normal human limits. So, I would state now my question: should humans use biotechnology to transcend natural human limits, or are there moral boundaries we must respect and observe? So, here I now present two different views. First, the view of bioconservatism, such as those of Jürgen Habermas. They warn that enhancement risks instrumentalizing human life and eroding human dignity. And on the other end, the view of transhumanism, which views enhancement as an expression of human progress and moral responsibility. So in my paper, I argued that while genetic enhancement promises to suffering, it may also distort the meaning of moral struggle, equality, and authenticity. To conclude, if suffering and imperfection are essential to our moral growth, then erasing them through enhancement could erase part of our humanity itself. So before I would give this to the next researcher, Technology not only reshapes our biology, but also our subjectivity, the very sense of what it means to be human. That will be all on my end. Thank you.
Good evening, Robin and Robin. Allow me also to express my research paper, and my topic is all about the human subjectivity in relation with technology. Subjectivity simply means the inner self, the I that feels, thinks, and decides freely. It is the personal experience that makes every human being unique, unlike machines that only follow commands and pendant to its program. Whereas a subjective human being can reflect, choose, and love. Subjectivity shows that a human is not just a body or a mind, but a unity of both. We are capable of knowing, feeling, and acting with meaning. This idea is supported by several philosophers. Primarily, Mark Spencer says that a person is irreducible. We cannot be reduced to data, systems, or code. Husserl calls subjectivity as transcendental, meaning it goes beyond the physical and points to our inner conscience or consciousness. St. Thomas Aquinas sees a person as the most complete in being as in nature. We are rational and moral. Wen Jing Yuan reminds us that the body itself is part of our subjectivity. It allows to speak, move, and relate to others. And John Baudrillard warns that modern technology often alienates us from our true selves, turning us into consumers that rather than persons. My paper argues that a human person is rational, we are transcendent, and we are distinct from technology. No matter how advanced or perfect, it remains limited and programmed. Machines can imitate knowledge, but they cannot feel compassion or pain, or they cannot have wisdom. They do not suffer, love, or seek meaning. They are just designed to be imitations. The human person, on the other hand, lives with awareness. We ask why, how, what, and we search for truth, and we make moral choices. Even when technology helps us become efficient, it should never define who we are, because a human person cannot be defined in a certain definition. Humanity is not measured by intelligence alone, but by conscience and care. We have this human intellect that technology does not have. So, what we need today is not reject technology, but to have a balance. Technology must remain as a servant of life, not a master. We should use it with wisdom and moral awareness, keeping our hearts even in the digital age. To exist is to coexist with others, with nature, and yes, even with the tools we create, as mentioned earlier by Robin, the genetic enhancement. However, we should not lead this into a suffering, which William Ace has tackled earlier, because this is the real challenge to stay human in a world that is becoming more mechanical and technological. In the end, technology may make our life easier, but only humanity gives meaning. May we not allow technology to separate us from our nature, to take our existence as human.
Okay, so to sum it all up, to tie all three themes together and to leave a more memorable closing insight, human suffering reminds us of our depth. Morality defines our natural limits, and technology challenges both. To close this, the task of philosophy today is not to reject technology, but to humanize it, to ensure that in transcending our natural limits, we do not lose our soul, and in essence, we do not lose our humanity. To those who are watching and to those who will be watching this webinar online, we thank you for your kind patience and for your viewing on this webinar. And we invite you for further philosophical reflection, and maybe in the future, you will create a dialogue within yourselves. That would be all for this webinar. Thank you and have a blessed